Feeling lost is often misunderstood as a personal flaw, a weakness, or evidence that something has gone wrong in life, but in reality, it is rarely a verdict on your worth or capability. It is a message, not a judgment. It reveals that something essential has been disconnected, not that something valuable has been destroyed. When direction is missing, movement becomes exhausting. Not because you lack strength, but because you are moving without alignment. And misalignment always produces confusion before it produces collapse. When divine direction is absent, the mind begins to search everywhere for answers, trying to compensate for the missing signal. People mistake activity for progress and noise for clarity, hoping that movement alone will somehow generate meaning. This is why someone can be busy every day and still feel lost every night. The absence of direction does not stop motion. It simply removes purpose from motion, turning effort into frustration. Being lost does not mean you have fallen behind or failed to measure up. It means the internal compass that once guided decisions has been ignored, overridden, or replaced. When truth is no longer the reference point, every option feels equally uncertain. Choices lose their weight and consequences feel random, not because life is unfair, but because the anchor that gives decision structure has been loosened. Disconnection from divine truth often happens quietly. It does not arrive with alarms or warnings, but with subtle compromises, distractions, and delays. One ignored conviction becomes two postponed obediences, and over time, clarity fades. The loss is gradual, not dramatic, which is why many people do not realize they are lost until they are deeply disoriented, questioning not only their direction, but their identity. When truth is disconnected, emotions take over leadership. Feelings begin to dictate choices, and feelings are unstable by nature. What feels right today may feel empty tomorrow. This emotional leadership creates cycles of confidence and doubt that rise and fall without consistency. Without divine direction, emotions become unreliable guides, leading people in circles while convincing them they are moving forward. Feeling lost often intensifies during moments of transition, growth, or elevation. It shows up when old methods no longer work, but new ones have not yet been fully embraced. This does not mean regression. It often indicates expansion. However, without divine direction, expansion feels like uncertainty rather than opportunity, and growth feels like instability rather than progress. Divine truth provides context, and without context, experiences lose meaning. Pain feels random, success feels hollow, and waiting feels unbearable. When truth is restored, experiences regain purpose. Struggles become formative, delays become preparatory, and challenges become instructional. The sense of being lost begins to dissolve as understanding replaces confusion. Many people fear the feeling of being lost because they associate it with failure. But the real danger is not the feeling itself, it is ignoring what the feeling is pointing toward. That sense of disorientation is often an invitation to return, to realign, and to recalibrate priorities. It signals that something deeper needs attention, not condemnation. Disconnection from divine direction does not erase calling or potential. It only obscures the path. Purpose does not disappear because it is not dependent on your awareness of it. Even when you feel lost, the destination remains intact. What is required is not reinvention, but reconnection, not striving, but listening. The moment divine truth is reintroduced, clarity begins to emerge gradually. Direction returns step by step, not all at once. Confidence grows as obedience replaces confusion and peace replaces striving. Feeling lost loses its power when it is recognized as a signal guiding you back to alignment rather than a sentence declaring defeat. God's word functions as a compass because it does not change with circumstances, seasons, or emotions. While everything around you may be shifting, the word remains fixed, offering a consistent point of reference when decisions feel uncertain. In moments of confusion, clarity does not come from having more options, but from having a true north. And the word establishes that direction when life feels scattered. Clarity emerges when truth defines reality rather than opinions or pressure. The word cuts through mental noise and competing voices, separating what matters from what merely demands attention. When confusion clouds judgment, the word brings focus, helping you see situations as they are rather than as fear or desire presents them. This clarity is not loud or rushed, but steady and precise, guiding the next step even when the full path is not visible. Stability is produced when decisions are anchored in something unshakable. Without the word, people build their lives on trends, approval, or temporary success, all of which shift without warning. The word provides a foundation that does not collapse under pressure, allowing you to stand firm even when outcomes are uncertain. Stability does not mean the absence of storms, but the ability to remain grounded while storms pass. Orientation is about knowing where you are in relation to where you are meant to go. The word offers this perspective by revealing purpose, identity, and responsibility. When life feels disorienting, it is often because direction has been replaced with reaction. The word reorients the heart and mind, restoring order where chaos has taken root. Confusion often increases when people rely solely on logic or emotion to navigate complex situations. Logic is limited by information, and emotion is influenced by mood. The word transcends both, providing wisdom that is not bound by current conditions. It speaks into situations with authority, offering insight that aligns actions with long-term purpose rather than short-term relief. The word also provides clarity by exposing what does not belong. It challenges assumptions, confronts distractions, and reveals misaligned priorities. This exposure is not meant to shame, but to refine. By illuminating what is unnecessary or harmful, the word simplifies decisions, making space for what truly matters. Stability grows as the word becomes a daily reference rather than an occasional resource. Consistent engagement strengthens discernment, allowing you to recognize truth even when it is subtle. Over time, this consistency builds inner confidence, not rooted in circumstances, but in trust that direction is secure regardless of external change. Orientation through the word restores confidence and movement. When you know the direction, even small steps feel meaningful. Progress is no longer measured by speed, but by alignment. This removes the pressure to rush and replaces it with patience, knowing that moving correctly is more important than moving quickly. In times of confusion, the word provides reassurance without removing responsibility. It offers peace while still requiring obedience. This balance strengthens character, teaching dependence without passivity and action without anxiety. The guidance of the word empowers movement with confidence rather than fear, as clarity, stability, and orientation increase. Scion loses its dominance. Decisions become intentional, responses become measured, and purpose becomes clearer. The word continues to guide moment by moment, ensuring that even in uncertainty, direction remains intact. True peace is often misunderstood as the reward of accomplishment, the feeling that arrives after goals are reached and recognition is secured. Many pursue achievement believing it will silence restlessness, only to discover that success without alignment amplifies emptiness rather than resolves it. Achievement can impress others, but it cannot stabilize the inner life when truth is absent. Purpose is not produced by activity, no matter how productive that activity appears. People fill their schedules, hoping motion will quiet their questions, yet busyness only distracts temporarily. When activity replaces alignment, exhaustion increases while fulfillment decreases. The soul does not respond to motion, it responds to meaning, and meaning is rooted in truth. External success is measurable, visible, and celebrated, but peace is internal and cannot be validated by applause. Many reach milestones they once dreamed of and still feel unsettled because outward advancement does not correct inward misalignment. When success is pursued without truth as the guide, it becomes a weight rather than a gift. Alignment with truth brings a sense of wholeness that achievement cannot replicate. When values, actions, and beliefs move in the same direction, resistance disappears. Decisions no longer feel forced, and effort becomes purposeful rather than draining. Peace emerges not because life is perfect, but because life is ordered. Truth provides clarity about identity, and identity determines purpose. Without truth, people borrow definitions from culture, expectations, or comparison. These borrowed identities require constant performance to maintain, creating anxiety and pressure. Alignment with truth removes the need to prove worth. allowing peace to replace striving. Activity without truth creates motion without direction. People run hard but arrive nowhere, confusing speed with progress. Alignment slows unnecessary movement and sharpens intentional action. When truth leads, every step contributes to purpose, even when progress appears slow. Peace is not the absence of problems, but the presence of alignment. Challenges still arise, but they no longer threaten identity or direction. Truth anchors perspective, allowing calm decision-making in the middle of pressure. This stability cannot be manufactured by success. It must be cultivated through alignment. Purpose grows clearer when truth defines priorities. Not every opportunity deserves a yes, and not every path leads forward. Alignment filters choices, protecting energy and focus. This discernment creates space for depth rather than distraction. External success often demands compromise, but truth demands consistency. Compromise erodes peace because it creates internal conflict. Alignment restores peace by removing contradiction between belief and behavior. Integrity becomes the source of confidence. When alignment with truth becomes the foundation, peace and purpose operate together. Actions become meaningful, success becomes secondary, and fulfillment becomes sustainable. Life no longer revolves around achievement, but around obedience to what is true. Transformation is often delayed not because people lack knowledge, but because knowledge is mistaken for progress. Information can educate the mind without ever changing behavior. People read, listen, and learn, yet remain the same because understanding alone does not produce movement. Change begins when truth is acted upon, not when it is merely acknowledged. Information creates awareness, but awareness without application leads frustration. The more someone knows without doing, the heavier the sense of stagnation becomes. Knowledge highlights what is possible, but application is what makes it real. Without action, information becomes a reminder of unrealized potential rather than a catalyst for growth. Application requires responsibility, and responsibility is uncomfortable. It demands consistency, discipline, and accountability. Many prefer information because it feels productive without requiring sacrifice. Application, however, forces decisions that reshape habits, relationships, and priorities. This is where transformation actually begins. Transformation is not instant, it is cumulative. Each applied principle compounds over time, producing visible change gradually. Small acts of obedience repeated daily create more impact than occasional bursts of enthusiasm. Application turns intention into structure, and structure sustains growth. Information can inspire temporarily, but application rewires behavior. Inspiration fades, but applied truth reshapes identity. When actions align with truth consistently, self-perception changes. Confidence grows not from motivation, but from evidence created through disciplined action. Application exposes resistance. It reveals areas of fear, pride, and comfort that information never touches. This exposure is necessary for transformation because what is hidden cannot be healed or changed. Through application, weaknesses are confronted and refined. Without application, information often becomes entertainment. People consume ideas the way they consume media, enjoying the insight without embracing the cost. This consumption creates an illusion of progress that delays actual change. Application breaks this illusion by demanding measurable movement. Transformation through application requires patience. Results are not always immediate, and consistency is tested. Those who persist despite slow progress develop resilience. This resilience becomes part of the transformation, strengthening character alongside outcomes. Applied truth creates alignment between belief and behavior. This alignment removes internal conflict and builds integrity. Integrity produces stability, allowing growth to continue even when circumstances are challenging. Information alone cannot produce this internal coherence. When application becomes the priority, transformation becomes inevitable. Actions reinforce values, habits reinforce identity, and identity reinforces destiny. Growth shifts from being theoretical to becoming tangible and live. Emotions are powerful, but they are also unstable. They rise and fall in response to circumstances, memories, fatigue, and expectations. What feels right in one moment can feel wrong in the next, making emotions unreliable as a primary guide. When decisions are built on emotional reactions, direction becomes inconsistent and outcomes become unpredictable. Logic appears more dependable than emotion, yet it too has limitations. Logic depends on available information, and information is often incomplete or biased. When circumstances change or new data appears, logical conclusions shift. What once seemed like the right decision may later appear flawed, not because logic failed entirely, but because it was never designed to operate in isolation. Opinions multiply quickly, especially in environments filled with constant communication and comparison. Every voice carries perspective, but not every perspective carries truth. Opinions are shaped by personal experience, preference, and exposure, which means they differ from person to person. Relying on opinions creates confusion because guidance becomes fragmented and contradictory. Truth, unlike emotions, logic, or opinions, does not fluctuate with conditions. It remains steady regardless of pressure, trends, or personal preference. This consistency makes truth a dependable reference point when everything else feels unstable. While emotions respond and logic analyzes, truth defines. Dependable guidance requires something fixed. Without a stable foundation, direction changes with mood, circumstance, or influence. Truth provides that foundation, allowing decisions to be made with confidence rather than hesitation. It offers clarity that does not require constant reevaluation based on shifting conditions. When truth leads, emotions find proper placement. They become responses rather than rulers. Logic also finds balance, serving as a tool rather than an authority. Truth integrates emotion and logic, giving each a role without allowing either to dominate decision-making. Opinions lose their power when truth is established. Advice can be weighed without becoming controlling, and perspectives can be considered without causing confusion. Truth filters input, allowing wisdom to be extracted while maintaining direction. This creates peace in decision-making. In uncertain seasons, the constancy of truth becomes especially valuable. When outcomes are unclear and paths are unfamiliar, truth anchors movement. It prevents impulsive reactions and protects against paralysis caused by overanalysis. Guidance rooted in truth builds confidence over time. Consistent alignment with what does not change strengthens discernment. Decisions become less reactive and more intentional, reflecting trust in something greater than immediate perception. As emotions shift, logic adapts, and opinions evolve, truth continues to stand firm. Its reliability provides direction that does not drift, offering steady guidance through every season of change. Returning to God's word is not an emotional impulse, but a deliberate choice. It requires intention, humility, and the willingness to realign life around truth rather than convenience. This decision often begins quietly, with a recognition that direction has been lost and clarity has faded. Choosing to return is an act of responsibility, acknowledging that guidance must come from a source greater than personal understanding. Purpose is restored when God's word becomes the reference point again. Without it, purpose fragments into temporary goals and shifting priorities. The word reconnects actions to calling, reminding the heart why it was created and what it was designed to pursue. This restoration does not happen instantly, but it unfolds as truth reshapes focus and intent. Doubt thrives in the absence of truth. When the word is neglected, questions multiply without resolution, and uncertainty gains authority. Returning to the word introduces clarity that quiets internal conflict. Doubt does not disappear because circumstances change, but because perspective does. The word challenges assumptions that have formed during seasons of distance. It confronts fear, pride, and self-reliance, replacing them with trust and obedience. This confrontation is necessary for growth, as unchallenged beliefs often become barriers to purpose. Through engagement with the word, these barriers begin to fall. Activating destiny is not about discovering something new, but about aligning with what has always existed. Destiny responds to obedience, not ambition. As the word becomes central again, decisions begin to reflect long-term calling rather than short-term comfort. This alignment creates movement toward fulfillment. Returning to the word also restores discipline. Consistency replaces chaos, and structure replaces confusion. Daily engagement creates rhythm, and rhythm creates stability. This discipline strengthens the ability to recognize direction even when progress feels slow. Purpose becomes clearer as truth filters distractions. Many pursuits lose their urgency when measured against eternal principles. This filtering protects energy and focus, allowing effort to be invested where it matters most. Clarity grows as unnecessary striving fades. Doubt loses its influence when truth is applied consistently. Confidence grows not from circumstances improving, but from trust deepening. This trust anchors identity, reducing the power of fear and comparison. Assurance replaces hesitation as obedience becomes habitual. Destiny unfolds through alignment rather than force. The word guides steps, not leaps, shaping character alongside outcomes. Each act of obedience contributes to growth, even when results are not immediately visible. This steady movement builds resilience and faith. As returning becomes a lifestyle rather than a moment, purpose remains clear, doubt remains quiet, and destiny continues to unfold through faithful alignment with truth.